Welcome to Insight Plug, the podcast where independent creators and entrepreneurs connect and inspire. I'm your host, Devon Jones. Today on our show, we have actor, producer, and director David Duke. David, welcome to the show.
Hello, and thank you for having me.
And I'm glad to have you on. So this season we actually have a lot of filmmakers from the UK, and I like your profile because your profile is unique from the other filmmakers. There's some parts in here where you're an actor. There's some parts where you are playing multiple parts in the same film. But before we get into your projects, let's talk a bit about David Duke, the filmmaker. So when did you first discover filmmaking as a whole, and what made you say, okay, this is what I want to do for my career?
Well, I've always liked, I like a lot of films. I always like the typical filmmaker, I guess, is like sits down, likes films, watches films constantly. Oh, I'd like to do that. And it became like just a thing. It was just a hobby. I was just watching movies, like trying to pick up things, like, oh, I wonder if that looks good. But then, um, it kind of happened by chance that my wife passed away, and I got into TikTok like before it was big, before it is like it is now. It was like the lip syncing app, and I started making videos on there, and that's where I was like getting creative, making different different angles there. And before all the big editing stuff that it has now, we was like, you record it, edit it, and then upload it. And sometimes you do it straight and just clip it in the app itself, but you didn't have all the effects and everything that you have now. So it was more challenging back then to do edits, and like, you had the audios, but then you had to put in your own sort of influence into it, because the effects or the backgrounds and things like that. And I spent the first good year, 2 years maybe, on TikTok, and I never showed my face once. And I did a lot of cosplay as Pennywise the Clown. And that got me, that's the original version, not the new version, if anybody knows the original. And yeah, it was just the more like expressive I got with it, the more interest I got into it, and I got more involved in the making of it rather than the lip syncing and everything. I was like, all right, well, how can I make this better? How can I make that better? How can I edit this clip together? So basically, it sort of grew from there, and then went up to make a little short that won awards in the film circuit, festivals and stuff. And it did really well for about 2 years. So I decided to make another one, and then I did make some more shorter ones that were like the 15 seconds to a minute for TikTok, and just basically just grew from there. And I'm still on the hunt to give it full time. I have done a lot of I like extra work, which I think a lot of actors have done, and that's kind of like a gateway into the acting world as well. I think is through being an extra, supporting artists, and slowly getting recognised through that. But then I wrote a few scripts that seemed to go well. But I used to write short horror stories before that, so I tried adapting those into little scripts, and it just grew and grew, and now it's like, that's what I want to do.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I love it. So real quick, before we jump into your scripts and the short films, about the TikTok experience. So you did cosplay on TikTok. It started growing from there, And what was those projects on TikToks? Were there just clips or were they actually like a short film? What were that?
Yeah, it was just the standard. It was. I was very insecure at that point. Like, that's why I wore the masks. And so nobody knew who I was. I was the like, yeah. And then when I did a face reveal, and that's when everything went wrong, I guess. But yeah, it was just like picking up because back then it was the lip sync app. So you picked an audio and you lip synced to it. But I have a mask on, and the mask's mouth doesn't move, so I had to learn to interpret them through using my hands and my expressions. And a lot of people said, "Oh, I used to be scared of clowns, but after seeing you, I'm not scared of them now because I used to do funny ones and stuff like that." And yeah, I've I thought I built it up, and I'm currently standing at like 500,000, I think, followers on there. So, but I don't use that as much now because I'm concentrating on the other stuff. So it's not as I just use that as a hobby now.
Gosh, you, that's
But yeah,
awesome. And that takes a lot of skill to, I don't know if it's called, like for silent films, like physical movement, right? To act with your body rather than, speaking. And
yeah,
that's awesome. That's awesome. I love it. So let's jump into some of your projects. You have a project called Night Terror. So you're more of a horror genre, I would say. Is
yeah.
that's like
I
your
do love my horror, but I I I've done like a comedy, and I've been in little bits, but my own projects I like to do horror if I can because that's
awesome.
what I like the most.
All right. So if you can share a little bit about Night Terror with us and how did you come up with that concept?
Yeah, well, that Night Terror was like the firstborn um, for me for a short film. It's just over 3 minutes long, and I originally started to make a little TikTok, and I then decided I looked at it and thought I could make this into something a little bit better. And back at the beginning, TikTok never had you couldn't go over a minute. It never had like the 6 minutes, the 10 minutes like it does now. It was just 15 to 30 to a minute, I think, and then 3 minutes, something like that. So I was like, So I I filmed it in vertical, so it's in portrait mode, and that caught the attention of film festivals, which I eventually put it into film festivals because nobody had done it like that before. And I had to play both parts of that. But having a full time job working the late shift was kind of tricky. So I would record myself doing like as I am now, just playing, no masks or anything because I'm the victim as well. So I was recording the victim parts, and then some nights coming home at midnight, 1 o'clock, getting all dressed up in the clown stuff, face paint and everything, and then recording the clowns bits, but having to remember what I did as the actual victim. So I'm like, it wasn't shot in sequence. It was, it's just a good job that my neighbours didn't see me stood outside at 1 a.m. with a kitchen cleaver knife. That's all I could say. But and yeah, it was black and white. There was no real, there's no dialogue in it, and I tried to make it as creepy as possible just by using music. So through the whole thing, there is dialogue in it actually. Yeah, there's a little bit at the beginning, and then it goes into just all music. So yeah, it was challenging, especially editing it on the mobile phone I had at the time because it was a smaller one, I'm just using a basic editing thing, and it's like, oh no, like trying to cut it with your finger and get it to the right point. It was just a nightmare. I think it took me about 3 weeks to edit, um, whereas it took me about 2 weekends to film it. So it was definitely a lot harder to edit it than it was to make it.
I love it. I love it. So let's talk about the costume preparation. So how long did you say does it take to get like, fully costume, face paint and everything?
Yeah, well, the main costume I have is I use this the Pennywise costume, but I don't put the vest on. I do have a different clown mask, but for that clown mask, it sits here. So I have to do all my eyes, I have to do all my mouth, all my neck, and I can do it in about 35 minutes.
Oh, wow.
The face paint takes the longest because I kind of have to mark out where the eyes are and where the mouth, the mask comes down, so that I can then put the mask on and colour in, so I don't get paint all over the mouth. But
And is all this costume or is it self-taught or did you take some classes to
no, it's just self-taught. I did get into making wounds and stuff just watching YouTube, but like I didn't use any in the first one, Night Tower. I didn't use any in that. It was just simple. It's the most basic film that I made of like 3 minutes, just over 3 minutes. There's no blood in it or anything. I would have liked to put it in, but I didn't know how to do it back then. So, that's something else I'm learning is editing with the biggest editing kit to how to put blood on and stuff like that.
and then you
Still challenging.
and then you say you submitted Night Terror to some film festivals?
Night Terror 1
Uh-huh.
was that. Yeah, that was the main TikTok one. That's where it got a lot. That got quite a lot of attention. I think it's won like 14 awards, something like that.
Wow.
And then I made a couple of other ones in between, which I didn't submit because I personally didn't think they were good enough, but they were good. But they were what I felt, submittable. Uh, they went on YouTube, but that's as far as they went. Then Night Terror 2 was born in my brain. I got my good friend in to help me with that. He was quite willing to play a victim. And then I got another friend of mine to help me with the editing and sound. He did all the sound for it. And that come out really well. And that's won quite a few awards as well. But that one's colour, that one's got blood in it. And we actually cut somebody's genitals off in that.
Oh wow. Ooh. All right. So where can the fans and the audience watch some of these films?
Yeah, they are on YouTube, which is Horror Squad 666 on YouTube. I do believe Night Terror is on one of the streaming platforms. I can't remember which one right now. I know it's one from the States. They asked us if they could put it up there, and I said, yeah, sure.
Definitely. Yeah, and when we get those when you share those links, we'll get those links in the description so you guys can check out the films. All right, so let's talk about some of your recent projects. There's a project called Rear View that you worked on.
Yeah, Review was another one that was born. I just decided to write a script for it. I did have, obviously, I had more people at this point to help me out with it, and we had to raise some funds for that one because we used a cinematographer and we had a makeup artist and yeah, just more people was like involved in it. I just directed it. I wasn't in that one. I wrote it and directed it, but I weren't in it. Uh, the the concept in the film came out okay, but we had an issue with some of the cinematography, which couldn't be reshot. So I had to sort of like re-edit it myself and try and get it something like. And it's a bit gritty, a bit grainy, but it still comes across. And I managed to get another guy, Paul Talos, talented score guy. He rescored it for me, and then I got another. I got a young lady. She wrote a song and sung it herself, and I asked her if I could use it in the film, and she actually rewrote it, worded it so it fit the film better. So and then we had that at the end towards the end credits, and it's come out really, it's come out good. It could be better, but I'm like I say, I'm still learning a lot. I'm still in my infancy in filmmaking, so
It's awesome. Climbing up the film ladder. So with the projects that you worked on so far, what would you say has been the most challenging?
the most challenging I would say was Night Terror 2 because again that was filmed on my phone. So I mean, if anybody struggles or you just want to dabble, just grab your phone, just go for it. Just what's what's the worst that can happen? There's a lot of editing software out there. I mean, to name a few, CapCut. A lot of people use CapCut, but just don't be scared. Grab your phone and just try something. You don't keep it to yourself, but at least you're trying. But yeah, Night Terror 2, I say I did that on my phone, but I was the cinematographer for it. I was in it. So I wrote it, I directed it, I was in it, and I did the filming for it. So there was one point I had to set the camera up. I had to go position myself where I was supposed to be, set the camera up to take a picture, then run back round to see if I was in frame to make sure that when I actually, because I was like knelt down, but when I come up, that I was still going to be in frame. So it was a lot more. I even did the makeup and I made the intestines myself, and I made all the wounds and like my friend Andy Bell, who was a victim, he was good. Just like when I was supposed to be over him, killing him, I got him to hold the phone. So I said, just hold it at that point there. So yeah, he was a big help and it was a big laugh because he got blood in his mouth and it's it was a mess. Put it that way.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I love it. All right. So you have a film that's fairly recent. This year, Teddy and the Mountain. You're in that part.
Yeah, I was just just an extra in that. A guy I know was like, I'm looking for somebody just to say a few lines. Can you do this? And I said, yeah, yeah, not a problem. It's a kind of romantic comedy, and I play a vegan, which I'm in socks and sandals. Typical what you would say. Yeah, he's vegan, but the comedy version. Uh, I mean, I have got a couple of other projects coming out, which I was in, but yeah, one of them's doing a lot of advertising, which is We're All Black Down Here. Uh, and that's written by Millie. Can't her name escapes me, but that's BFI funded. So that's British Film Institute, and that's looking really good at the minute. I just had a bit as a minor in that, covered in coal for 4 days.
Nice. So there are there any new screenplays that you're writing?
Um, yeah, I have wrote, or I'm in the process of writing for Night Terror, kind of like an origin story. So it's like beginning of how the clown came to be the clown, because the basis, the basis around it is it's a cross between it, the clown movies, slasher movies, but also like um Nightmare on Elm Street with Freddy and that. It's like comes, and we've got a bit where this young lad, he sort of like, uh, can I say it? I don't know if I can say it.
Totally
But
understandable, yeah.
basically, yeah, basically it revolves around, obviously, the guy, he gets killed and he comes back as the clown and kills a few people and then ends up dead again. And then he's manifested through like deeper. That's why it's like Freddy, but it's not, because night terrors is, I don't know if you know about night terrors, they're a lot more deeper than what dreams are. They're more real. So that's where it comes back through that
Got you, got
kind of thing to kill people.
I'm looking forward to it. Looking forward to it. All right. So we're at that part of our session where we ask this question to all the guests. What is a book, a TV show, or a film that you recommend to the next generation to check out?
Oh, I would also, I mean, I always say check out American Werewolf in London as a film, because the effects that they did on that with, at the time, there's not a lot of CGI and stuff like that, are on point. And I still say the wolf transformation is one of the best to date without CGI or anything. So I would say that. As for books, I would say read the Stephen King's It book, because the book is better than the movies. Books are always better than the movies because you can make up your own imagination. But
That's
um,
true.
yeah, so I would say them two. What was the last one?
TV show. It
TV.
doesn't have to be all three, but if you have a TV show, then that helps as well.
Yeah, TV shows. There's a lot out there that have got a lot of good storylines. I mean, I can go. I mean, I'm a big American Horror Story fan. It has gone downhill a little bit. I'm not gonna lie, but there's also Yellow Jackets, and you've got like Stranger Things is finished. But yeah, you could always watch the It original miniseries.
That's true. Yeah, yeah. All right. So before we sign off, David, do you want to give the filmmakers some lasting words? Right? They're ready to get their first audition. They're ready to write their first script. They're ready to direct their first film.
Yeah, basically, just do it. Like, be confident in yourself. Be confident in what you want to write. You want to film. If you want to film something, have an idea, write it down, and just film yourself. Film yourself doing something, or grab a friend and film them doing something, and then just do a short clip. Add some music to it. See what it feels like. Just never be scared to try anything, because you never know if you're going to like it until you've done it. And it's better than saying, I tried it and it looked okay, than going, I thought about it, but I didn't do anything about it. That's the big difference between, I guess, between creatives and people who like scared. Just don't be scared. Just do it. Don't matter if, even if you don't go on to pursue anything else, or like, try writing a script. Again, have an idea, write it down, give it to somebody to say, what do you think about this? All they can do is give you criticism, but you just got to remember, like, the film industry is pretty harsh, and a lot of people will say, well, that's wrong, you can't do that, that don't match, but it's only giving you advice. And the more advice you can get, the better, I say. Like, try and learn. If you're on a film set as an extra, look around, see what's happening. Try and learn bits on the job as well, because learning on the job is quite a good way. And don't just sit in a corner. Go talk to the people. If it's like a group of people talk to the director, talk to the videographer, connect with people to try and get some insight into how they do it so you can learn yourself.
All right, there you have it, you guys. Don't sit in the corner. Go out there, make yourself present. That was today's episode of Inside Plug. David, thank you so much for stopping by. It was a pleasure having you on.
You're welcome. Thank you very much.
All right, if you enjoyed what you heard today on today's episode, don't forget to check out some of our previous episodes. Also, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Inside Plug 2Gs. This is Devon Jones. Once again, stay inspired and keep creating. Inside Plug signing out.